everyone. Welcome to our Facebook Live. I'm so glad that you could join us today. We're here out at the Lyndale store amongst beautiful flowers, a sunny day. It really is great gardening weather now. We've been blessed with some beautiful sunny days and nice warm temperatures, so hopefully you're all getting out, digging in the dirt, having some of that gardening therapy that we all like. So I'm glad that you can join us. Remember to put any of your questions or comments to us, and we'll answer your questions as you go along. Let us know where you're viewing from, and we want to connect and get to know you, and give us those emojis as well. We love seeing your reactions. So, we've been doing a lot of these Facebook Live segments, and today we're going to talk about how to plan and plant a cutting garden. So as you're going through and thinking about things that you're going to plant in your landscape, whether it's annuals or perennials or shrubs, maybe you can give some thought to it and plant things that are very good for a cutting garden, where you can take some flowers from it, bring it inside your home, and enjoy beautiful bouquets all summer long. So it really does bring great pleasure, all the way from when we have the first daffodils and tulips coming up in early spring, April, although my tulips right now are just blooming because it was kind of cool and it's in a cold spot in my yard. They're actually gorgeous right now. But then all the way until we get to October, and you get the beautiful rudbeckias, the black-eyed Susans, and various perennials, as well as those fall garden mums. So it really is a joy to be able to pick something and bring that garden indoors and enjoy your blooms. And so creating these beautiful bouquets is not only just for yourself, but you can share them with other family members, or especially in this time right now where we're not being able to get together and be social. Creating a beautiful bouquet and putting it on somebody's doorstep and do like a ding-dong ditch maybe, that is a great way just to let your family, co-workers, really anyone know that you're thinking of them. It's a great pick-me-up. So today we're going to go through some helpful steps on how you can plan, and then create beautiful bouquets on a cutting garden. So when you're planning your cutting garden, you want to have a mix of annuals, perennials, bulbs, not only tulips and daffodils in the spring, but some of those summer flowering bulbs, dahlias, gladiolas, things like that. That's what really makes the best for a cutting garden. You also want to keep in mind the specific bloom time. So not all flowers bloom continuously. So annuals typically do, but perennials, as well as a flowering shrub, has a specific bloom time. So when you're planning your garden, you want to make sure that you're planning things that will cover the whole season, so you have this continuous bloom. And we have a wonderful care sheet that is posted on Bachmans.com. It's also on the link to this Facebook Live, and it lists some annuals, bulbs, perennials, and shrubs that are really great for a cutting garden, and when that bloom time is. So we've taken some of that work out for you, and you can just reference that. And so also, if you're working with a relatively small space, think about your color palette and what else you might have in that area, and select flowers that go well with the other things that you might already have planted if you're not building a cutting garden from scratch. Now remember, rainbow looks great together. So if you like the rainbow look, like I do, like I think there's, all colors go together in flower arrangements, that's fine, but have a good array of color. Otherwise, maybe you're somebody that really likes the blues and the purple tones, or the pink and magenta hues, or maybe you like the hot salsa reds and oranges and yellows. Whatever really appeals to you is what you should plant. And then the other thing, when you're planting your garden, you want to think of the types of flowers that you want to plant, and especially when that comes to arranging. So you want to have some flowers like a baby's breath or a Queen Anne's lace or a solidago, something that is kind of that filler flower in your arrangement. Then you also want, roses or peonies or calla lilies. It's really kind of that, that's the beautiful bloom that you have. And then don't forget the foliage. So, the hostas or a lady's mantle or something that you can kind of skirt that vase with and put in between, so you can green your vase as well. So when it comes to planting your garden, you can tuck a few of these plants alongside your flowers, especially the foliage. If you're looking at perennials, same with annuals, regardless anything, you really need to pay attention to sun. So like hostas and lady mantle, which is great for greening the foliage, green your vase, they like a shade environment, whereas maybe some of your flowers that the calla lily or the Gerber daisy, they want full sun. So think about that when you're building this garden or tucking these plants into your current landscape. And then you also want to really think of the hardiness zone as well. So remember, here in the Twin Cities, we're typically a zone 4, and so anything that is 5 and above is an annual here, which is great, but just know that you're going to have to plant that year after year. So some great foliage plants that are annuals, Dusty Miller, Coleus, there's annual ferns, but also perennial ferns too. So I think we have a quick question. We'll take a little pause for our question, then we'll continue on.
So several people are wondering how you split peonies. I think with that being a really great cutting garden plant, they're asking, when is a good time to do this, spring or fall?
So the question was splitting your peonies, because peonies are a great item for a cutting garden. And so right now, peonies naturally bloom in kind of that June time frame. So if you would want to divide your peonies either really, really early before they have those buds, or wait until after they're done flowering. You don't want to do them when they're actively setting their buds or about to bloom. And with a peony, really dig up the whole entire root ball on them. They have really, really deep roots, so really make sure you dig down deep and get that full root. Bring it up, and then cut it in half or in a third and replant. I recommend cutting a peony in half and then replanting the 2 halves. The biggest thing with those peonies is make sure you get that entire root ball. They have deep roots. So when we in talking also about things to plant, ornamental grasses are really great to put in your cutting garden. It kind of gives some accent in there, and they last a long time, and then often in the fall they'll change color too, so you can mix up your arrangements a little bit. And then so really, again, I just want to stress, think about the spring season, the summer season, and the fall season when you're planting your garden, so you have blooms continuously throughout the entire year, and that you just don't have some summer blooms or whatever. Not that that's a bad thing, but if you want continual fresh arrangements inside. And then also think about maybe in the wintertime, what are some things that hold berries, or some winterberry or something like that would be maybe a fun thing that you could plant in your landscape, and you could have a little winter interest as well. And then also herbs are very, very popular, and if you have an herb garden, feel free to take some of those herbs and incorporate them into your fresh arrangement as well. It'll add an aromatic effect to your arrangement. So rosemary is a great one. It has beautiful texture and you're going to get that nice rosemary smell. Same with lavender or lemon balm. So herbs are a great thing that you can add to your vase arrangement from your cutting garden as well. Especially herbs do best when you're continually cutting and harvesting them. So if maybe you can't consume them by eating them, put them in your fresh arrangement. And then also you want to fertilize your cutting garden. And so I would recommend just an all-purpose plant tone. This is Spoma Organic plant tone fertilizer to fertilize your cutting garden. And then make sure that they stay well watered. So in order to produce these beautiful blooms, they do have to have a sufficient amount of moisture. So if Mother Nature doesn't provide it for us, make sure you get out there and water it. So when you have everything planted in your beautiful garden and things are beautifully blooming. So you want to be able to cut some beautiful blooms, harvest them, and bring them inside. So you want to make sure that you have a really clean, sharp garden shears or scissors, something that is going to give a nice clean cut to it so you don't rip or tear the stem on the existing plant that's going to stay in your garden, as well as the individual stem that you're going to bring inside and put in your arrangements. And it's best to cut the stems in the coolest part of the day. So usually early morning is best. You can do it later in the day too, but try to avoid the middle of the day heat. It's just not as stressful on your plants if you pick the cooler part of the day to harvest your flowers. And then when you do cut your on the plant, you want to cut at a 45-degree angle. So I'll take this hosta here that we will use for some of our foliage and try to go as far down on the stem. You want the longest leaf possible and put it at a 45 degree angle. And as soon as you cut them, you're going to want to put them in a little bucket of water that you've brought out to your garden with you to put them in so they don't go without water for a long period of time. So that nice 45 degree angle gives a nice habit to the rest of your plant to fill out, and as well as it gives it a bigger surface area to draw water for your plants in your vase. We're going to pause again for another question.
Jackie is wondering if there are any new greenery varieties that are particularly popular right now.
So Jackie's wondering about any new green varieties that are particularly popular. You know, I would say really greening in the vase, you can really, hostas and lady's mantle are a good thing to skirt because it will cascade the side of your vase very well. But you can also think about just regular shrubs in your yard to kind of fill out the inside, you know, like anything that has greenery. So like your spirea bush would give a nice texture, even when it's not flowering. Just because, you know, it's not flowering doesn't mean you can't use it, right? Anything that's green growing in your landscape would be suitable. So just, you know, be very creative in that. Really anything goes. So you want to pick your flowers often, and anytime you pick your flowers, it is giving the message to the plant to produce more. So the more you harvest them, then the more the flowers will produce. So it's the same thing when we talk about deadheading, you know, and removing those spent flowers in order to get them to flower more. If you harvest your flowers, it will continue to produce as well. So when you go outside, you cut your flowers and you bring them in to arrange them. You immediately submerge them in some lukewarm water, so they'll keep drawing up some water. I'm going to take a a great rose here. We'll put that in. Maybe like a beautiful calla lily here. I won't make a full arrangement for you, but just give you a bit of an idea. And then maybe a bit of a lilac. So you just want that 45-degree snip. And so you can do it where you have multiple of each type of flower, or just a couple of them and you have multiple stems of each that you continue to repeat. So once you cut them, then for the most part, when you put it in your vase, you should give it another little fresh cut on them. I have a vase here that is a tinge tall, but you'll get the idea of it. And then when you have your stems, you want to remove any foliage that would potentially be in the water. And so just arrange them loosely in there. And you would have we kept going, a beautiful arrangement. I need a little bit of a shorter vase, but you get the gist of it, right? So, and then you want to replace the water in your vase regularly, so it always has fresh water. And if one of your flowers looks like it's drooping a little bit, take it out of the water, give it another fresh cut, and let it draw up some fresh water again. So, go ahead, plant those beautiful cutting gardens that give you blooms all season long, and you can reap the benefits with beautiful arrangements for yourself or your friends and family. So I hope you all enjoyed the segment. Have a great day, and happy gardening, everyone.